Good evening, ladies and gents. I'm back with another Conquerors Blade video, and this time around we're going to be looking at the Steam charts for the amount of players currently playing the Conquerors Blade. Before we get into the video though, hit that subscribe button if you want to be kept up to date with the latest and greatest of Conquerors Blade. So, Season 8 is very slowly progressing through. We are now in the third week of Season 8, and we are starting to get most of the units and everything from this season now. A few people have actually turned around and said that they do feel the amount of numbers this season has dropped off somewhat, whether that be actually having to queue for a little bit longer or just not seeing a lot of people out in the towns. Territory wars seem a little bit quieter, which I have to say I've kind of noticed myself. It doesn't seem to be as much hustle and bustle going on in Conquerors Blade as there once was. Now, I'm going to be looking at the Steam chart numbers, which I have pulled from a couple of different websites, so I can try and get the best kind of information, the best kind of data possible from all of the numbers which play on Steam. Please do bear in mind that these numbers will only cover Steam players, so players that play Conquerors Blade through Steam. The players that just play directly through the My.Games launcher, they do not publicly release the numbers playing, so I will not be able to actually put all of the numbers together to add them up. However, the Steam charts does give us a good glimpse into how many people are still playing and everything, so we're going to crack straight into that. So the first chart I'm bringing up is the lifetime concurrent players on Steam over the last 3 years. So it's a little bit difficult to read this one, so I am just going to break it down to you. The blue line on the graph is the players, and they are separated down into what looks to be kind of quarters, because this chart is actually going through 3 years previous. Now, the blue line is the line that you want to be looking at. We will look at the red line in a minute. The purple line, I have absolutely no idea what that is. It would not come up for me when I was having a look at it to see what that is, so I won't be able to actually tell you what that is, unfortunately. But the blue line are players. So as we can see, starting from really May 19, there were a couple of players back in January 19, but May 19 is where it starts to kind of hit up a little bit, where that number, that blue line, increases and goes up quite a bit. That stays then approximately, I would say, about 10k or a little bit less, probably actually 6 to 7k from that initial kind of burst up just after May 19 all the way down to May 20. May 20 is where that line kind of moves up a little bit more towards that 10k kind of number for players on Steam. From there, it kind of carries on for another year or so, a couple of bumps, a couple of dips, but that number, that line is ever so slowly going up, indicating more and more players each and every single month. Now, it gets quite interesting because after May 21st, or May 21 even, that line is now starting to go on a bit of a dip, and it is a progressive dip where it is starting to actually kind of go all the way back down right until the last bit right at the end of that kind of graph. Now we are looking at really where Season 8 dropped. That brought a load of players back into the game, but as you can see, just with that little tiny bit we have got there, because obviously they haven't actually got all the numbers for this month yet, we can start to see that line is starting to dip down again, indicating that players are very slowly dropping off from the game, at least through playing through Steam. Still a decent healthy number, I would say, of players. You're still looking at an average of about 5k over the 24-hour peak. Just down at the bottom there, looking at the concurrent players. Now that is just the Steam numbers. Obviously the My.Games version, or the My.Games launcher, will be having at least a similar amount of players in the game, so 10,000 each day. That isn't bad for a game that is now coming up to 2 years being out for people to actually play. It's slowly starting to kind of decrease though, which is a bit of a scary place to be, because obviously you want that to be increasing, not decreasing. So it's going to be interesting to see. Actually, I'm going to be keeping an eye on this over the next couple of months and seeing actually where that line starts to take us. If you want an update video of the Steam players, so a very similar video to this but in the next month or two, let me know, because I will definitely be keeping an eye on this and explaining the graphs to you as well. Now, before I move on to the next graph, I want to just quickly point out the red line. That is the Twitch viewers. Can you see where the Twitch drops events are happening? That brings a huge amount of viewers onto Twitch, and each of those very big rises is a Twitch drops campaign of some sort. That line is because it has such peaks, it shows you that actually people are just watching Conquerors Blade for those Twitch drops, rather than having an average kind of viewership for people watching Conquerors Blade, which is a real shame, because actually some of the most fun streams I've had are doing Conquerors Blade, but I can understand it. Some people will just want to come over for the drops and everything like that, and this graph actually shows that and indicates that people are only coming over for those events. Moving on to the similar kind of graph, but this time we're just looking back at the last year now. So this kind of actually shows the blue line a little bit better, and it shows that actually, even though it is very slowly decreasing as we're going forward in time, it's not a big sudden drop at all. Now this is a bit of a natural kind of decline. People obviously come in for the new season, get the new stuff, have a look at it, have a play around with it, see if they like it or not, and then they start to kind of decrease as the season goes through. When we get into the last couple of weeks of the season, the last few seasons, everybody has noticed it, and those numbers have declined somewhat until literally the new season drops. Big explosion of new players again, or players coming back into the game, which increases the peak amount of players. I think that is always going to be an issue. I think that's always going to be something that happens with Conquerors Blade, but I still think this game needs to be marketed and gotten out there in front of people a bit more. I know they are really trying to get it out as much as they can to people, but I still think not a lot of people have heard about Conquerors Blade. The fact that actually we are keeping a pretty steady kind of level of concurrent players on Steam through the months is a very good sign that there is still plenty of life left in this game. Again, the red line indicates the Twitch drops there, or the Twitch viewers. Again, is quite easy to see where those Twitch drop campaigns have been happening, and they definitely do work in increasing the viewership of Twitch. So the last one I want to be looking at is actually the numbers. So this is more numbers rather than a graph now. We're going to be looking at the minimum daily peak, the average daily peak, and the gain and percent gain as well. So July 2021, there is a huge 25% gain, which is massive. That is when the Season 8 dropped, and it goes to show that those new seasons bring in a lot of players, whether they be returning or new. Does bring in a lot of players. Obviously that month, or July, has not yet ended. We haven't got the full stats of this yet. I do expect this number is going to go up a little bit more personally, and then we will start to see it actually dropping through the months, which is similar to all of the other months actually going back on this graph. You can see that in kind of March we were hitting 14,799. April actually exploded up to almost 16k for its peak, which is huge. The season dropped around that time, and that's what brought all those extra players in. May, we did see a bit of a decline. June, we saw a bit of a decline, and then July, with the new season again, has exploded back up. It just goes to show that those new seasons are really important for bringing people back into the game. The minimum daily peak also encourages that kind of more people are playing throughout the day as well, so they are having a higher peak of numbers, and this is what you will experience as you're playing the game. The higher the peak amount of people playing, the quicker the queue times, the more stuff going on, the more people around, all that, and actually this is what we need to just keep increasing and just keep pushing this game out to people that haven't heard it before. Now, there is somewhat of a concern in terms of a new game in particular coming out in the near future, and literally the next month. I'm not going to mention what it is. You can probably all kind of figure out what that is anyway. Closed beta is currently going on. I think this is going to be a very trying time for Conquerors Blade as a whole, both Frontier and My.Games version. I can see there being a bit of what's the best way of putting this, bit of a hit in terms of the player base, especially for the first month of this new game, where people are going to be in there experiencing it, playing it, trying it out, and all the rest of it. And it's going to be interesting to see after the next couple of months just how many peak players are still, or concurrent players are still playing Conquerors Blade after the novelty of this new game actually kind of wears off a little bit. It's going to be interesting to see in the next few months. I don't think Conquerors Blade is dying. I do not think that Conquerors Blade has only got a certain amount of kind of limited lifespan left. I think this game is still going to be going for the foreseeable future. I think it is going to take a bit of a hit in the next month or so with this new game. Other than that, I think a few people, or most people, will probably return, and I don't see the concurrent players going down so significantly that they're going to have to start worrying about Conquerors Blade, really. I think now we've kind of hit this kind of level of concurrent players just on Steam, remember, as well. There are obviously more players than what is being reported by Steam. I think Conquerors Blade is in a very good place at the minute, and a very sustainable place, and I think they're going to just keep on going with that, and it's going to be interesting to see, like I said, in the next really 6 months of where this game goes, and actually how many more, or how these kind of graphs kind of tie up in the next 6 months. This video has gone on a little bit longer than I thought. I've kind of blabbered on, but I find this kind of stuff very, very interesting. I hope you do too. If you do, please let me know your thoughts down below. Have you kind of experienced a lack of players in the game? Have you noticed any difference in the queue times, anything like that? Or do you think they're getting better, or not really changed that much? Let me know all your comments down below. I will get back to each and every single one of you. Thank you very much for watching, folks. As always, hit that sub button, hit that share button, hit me up down below in the comments, and I hope to catch you out on the battlefield.